I really learned that as you could be the most amazing technical pianist in the world, there are things that are specific of the culture that you can only learn if you go to these countries. And so that's why when I did the London Piano Masters, I decided to have, I could have done a master class with just me teaching for a week, No, I had, so every day the students would work with a different teacher and would learn how the same piece would be played if we were doing a German school. I had a German friend, Japanese, English, you see, a different school. And so LPMAM, when I was born at the London Performing Academy of Music, I had a very similar idea to have the home of the schools, the music schools of the world, united under one big institution.
That's
to give the opportunity and the faith, you see, to the students to discover the beauty directly from someone coming from these places.
Stefania, it's so great to meet you here on Zoom.
Hi, Petra. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a great pleasure, and it's beautiful, your piano in the background.
Thank you. This is my baby. I bought it as soon as I came to the UK. I had my own piano, of course, grand piano at home. And when I came to study Royal Academy of Music, and I was living in a residence of musicians. So we had an old Broadwood grand piano and upright pianos. But, being spoiled growing up, as soon as I entered the conservatoire, my teacher at the conservatoire said, now you're a professional, you're practicing to become a professional musician, you need to have a professional piano. So I remember I was 7 and we went with my dad to the shop to choose the piano, and I tried them and I said, that's the one. And I still have that one. So I really suffered not having a proper piano. And so as soon as I moved out of the student residence and I was renting an apartment with other friends, I went to the piano shop and I said, now I'm ready to rent my own piano. And then I bought it afterwards. And it was very crazy. I went to the storage place, and they had so many pianos and I didn't like any of them. And then this one was without the pedal. And I said, please let me try this piano. And I go and try it, and just the sound, it just, spoke to me. Nice. And so it has been with me since.
Wow. But we don't realize this, but I've spoken to a few pianists as well, where we talk about, when they go to perform somewhere and it's a different piano, because of course, when you have a violin, you can take it with you everywhere, but you have to adjust to every piano that you play on.
You do. And also the piano changes the way it speaks. It speaks to us depending on who is playing it. So sometimes it happened that I play a piano that was, used before by another great pianist. And, there are people that they have a heavier hand, others that are much lighter. They have a different way of using the pedal. So it's making the piano to sound like that. And so it takes, a good half an hour for the piano to start to respond to your sound. And then you will see, I'm sure when you listen to recordings, you can recognize a pianist from another. It's not just the way they are, phrasing the melody or using, the passion into it, but it's also the proper sound.
And if you go and so, like you said, you choose the piano. So and then you practice and work on this one piano. Do you then is this then for life your piano, or do you find that you want to change sometimes and get another piano?
I've been debating it because I am a very big I'm part of the Steinway family, and this is a Yamaha piano. So and in Italy I have a Yamaha piano as well. And so I've been thinking about getting a Steinway that is, it's the Stradivari of the pianos, if you like. But then I wouldn't feel as I don't know, as comfortable in practicing and experimenting on a Stradivari as I would be on this piano. So this piano is a fantastic instrument for working on it for hours. And then when I get to play the super Steinways at the concert hall, then I can fly somehow. You really, you get inspired. I once did. I went to the Steinway Artist Department, and they have like 10 Steinways Model D, and they have the one that you find in the concert hall, and then you get to choose which one you want to use for recording, for example. It was like choosing between 10 Ferraris, and you're like, they're all beautiful, but they did have different voices, that there was a difference. So for the repertoire that I was going to record, I then chose one instead of another.
This is for me always so interesting because as a non-musician, you don't realize these very intricate things, like you think, okay, pianos are made in a specific way, so they must be they must sound all the same. But no, I've spoken to many pianists who say exactly the same thing, that they're all different.
Absolutely. I had the pleasure to play them all, I would say. I played Posendorfer's, Blutner, Bechstein, Kavai. I remember when I did the Chopin competition, we were selected to go, and you could choose if you wanted to play either a Yamaha or a Kavai or a Steinway. And I remember I was, we were practicing them, trying them in turn. And the people that they played before me, they basically, they had such a heavy impact on the piano itself that I ended up choosing a Kavai. Because it was basically no one was touching it. They all went for the Steinway or the Yamaha. And the Kavai then allowed me in that specific situation to choose and to exhibit my capability of having a specific type of sound that I would have not been able. I would have needed an extra 30 minutes before I would play, but you don't get that when you are in competition. You're just behind stage. The pianist before you finish to perform, come out 5 minutes, and then you go in and play. You don't go in and warm up.
Oh yeah,
so you need to consider.
Yeah. So you have to do you do then before the time you figure that out, or before the time? Yeah.
No, you did. I did it. I think before the actually round started, so like the day before.
But so you're a pianist, but you're also teaching.
Yeah, not as much. So I used to teach. I have another company called the London Piano Masters, and that's from where LPMAM was born. You interviewed Christian Chimay, that is our opera director, professor at LPMAM, the London Performing Academy of Music. So before the London Performing Academy of Music, I had this academy called the London Piano Masters. So that's gone on for 2006, I think. So yeah, so it's quite a few years.
Wow.
I'm so bad. We're doing December the 27th summer masterclass.
Yeah. But
yeah, we had. Sorry. And so this academy was born because when I was a student at Royal Academy, I had few piano students, and then they were getting other piano students that wanted to study with me. And then it was too many. I didn't have enough, hours during the week. And they asked to be on the waiting list, and then they wanted to do a summer course. And so I founded the London Piano Masters, and we did master classes at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, Royal College of Music, Trinity Laban, and so that's how the academy started. So I was teaching in this academy. And then the students, they kept saying, we would like to study at your university, because the professors and the level that we were teaching was a university level. And the students were coming from conservatories from all around the world. We had them from France, from Spain, from America as well, and from China. And so that's how the LPMAM was born. So it was called the London Piano Masters Academy of Music. And then we had the anagram, shortening the LPMAM, like BBC. No one asked what BBC for. It's the British Broadcasting Company, I think it means. And so I thought, we can just have LPMAM, and I keep these 17 years of history of the London Piano Masters. But then when people were asking what the acronym stands for, and you would say London Piano, they were all thinking, oh, then it's just the Piano Academy. And so that's why we changed it in Performing Academy of Music.
Okay? That is the most dramatic bit of the whole piece. Because on top of zero,
But you talk about it now as if it all just happened, but it must have been, all these years, and your thinking around creating such a master, firstly for the piano, such a masterclass, and how that developed. Do you have a business mind? Do you have a sort of a mind of seeing bigger things than just, okay, I'm teaching, I have to get all the students in my schedule?
Well, I always had the mind for the bigger picture. And I've never been just for myself. When I founded the London Piano Masters, I thought I would invite my friends from the Royal Academy of Music or from the student house where I was living with to teach. And then that expanded to friends that I made when I did the international competition. I went to the Busoni and I met the Busoni competition. I met Rustem Saidkulov, who is a superstar Russian pianist, and we've been friends since. Sometimes you just meet people, and there is that connection, and it stays for life. And at competition, you have people just going and thinking, I want to win, and of course I wanted to win. But the idea wasn't to go and win; it was to showcase what I can do with the piano and make and share what I have. And I think the others felt it. So I remember we would just be practicing before going on stage. And Rustem asked me to listen to I still remember, his Schubert Wander Fantasy. And then he listened to me and we gave each other comments and then we went on stage. Then he went on, I think I don't remember if he got second or third prize. So he went fairly fast, by the way. And then we just stayed friends. And so when I started the London Piano Masters, I said, let's invite these great masters that I had the luck to meet in this competition around the world. Also, I've been very lucky. I had a great teacher. It's called Piero Rattalino in Italy. He was a music critic. And he was someone that really gave us, to all us students of his class, this critical mind in analyzing why something works better than something else. And also in finding that, the difference will make you stand out as well. So that he never taught us, sometimes when you go learn with a great pianist, you learn the way of this great pianist.
Oh, yeah.
Instead, he was a teacher. So he taught each of us to perform the same piece in a different way that was out of our personality and capabilities. And when I finished the study with him, he told me, you're an Italian in Italy. If you want to have an international career, you need to go out. So go try Royal Academy of Music, Tchaikovsky Conservatory in Moscow, New York, Juilliard, but just go. And so I did. And when I went to Royal Academy of Music, I became friend with Spanish pianists. I was the only Italian at the time. And the Spanish and French, they were the one that, they didn't have any shyness in coming and saying, you're the Italian one. I was like, okay. That was very funny. And I learned Spanish fairly quickly because, they were not talking in English to me. They were just talking in Spanish, assuming I would understand it. So Italian and Spanish, they have similar words, but it's a different language. So it is. So, and there is a lot of words that they mean, they have a completely different meaning. Like salir means to go away, while for us, salir means to go up. Like you go up the stairs, for example. Yeah. Simple things. But so they advised me to do a competition again in Spain. It was this big competition, and I went there. It was compulsory to play a Spanish piece, and I heard the others performing, and there was Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Russian, French, from all around the world. But when the Spanish performed the Spanish piece, they might have not been very good performing Beethoven, let's say, or Rachmaninoff. But when they performed the Spanish piece, Albéniz, there was pieces from Iberia, I was completely blown away. There was something that they were putting into the music that I didn't know what it was. And I knew it wasn't just written piano or forte. So I did the summer course in Spain with the great master called Manuel Carra in Santiago de Compostela. And the following summer from this competition. And I learned, things that I would have never learned if I was, about this Spanish music. In particular, for example, there was this piece called Corpus Christi in Sevilla. So it's the body of Christ in Sevilla. It's a huge, it's the Semana Santa, it's the Holy Week for Easter. And so they have the procession with Christ, with the cross, etc.
Oh, okay.
And so the piece started like this. It started ta ta tram, tita 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 tram, pa pa pram, pa pa pipa pipa pram, ta ta ti. And I thought that was the guitar, the flamenco guitar. So I would play ta ta tram, tita 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 pram, ta ta tram. And when I finished my performance, the professor, he told me, that was beautiful. You're so Italian. There is so much passion. We are so similar. That was just fantastic. But the beginning is not a guitar, is the heels of the flamenco dancer. So it's very percussive and it's very rigid. So so different type of accent, no arpeggiato, no guitar, but percussive. And little things like that. And then another thing, the main theme goes like that. So I remember I was practicing this piece. I was still at the residence of students musicians in London. And there was this beautiful Wagnerian soprano singer from Canary Island. And she comes into the kitchen and she sings, Tiene la tiara, un vestito blanco, tra-ta-tam. And I was like, this piece? So, I'm playing this piece by Albéniz. It's a famous, this is a famous nursery rhyme song. And it goes like that. The little girl has a white dress and she's ready to go to the party. So, to the Sunday Mass. And so Albéniz chose this image of the beautiful, innocent little girl with the white dress, happy to go to the festivities of the Easter with the Corpus Christi, and you might think about the blood, staining and tragedy of it. So really, this juxtaposition of these two images, incredibly strong. And so that's how, when I did the London Piano Masters, I wanted to have a teacher, a master from each different country. So someone representing the French school, the Russian school, the Spanish school. I went on to study as well in Paris for a year at the École Normale with Jacques Lagarde, who was a student of Alfred Cortot, a student of Chopin, etc. And I really learned that as you could be the most amazing technical pianist in the world, there are things that are specific of the culture that you can only learn if you go to these countries. And so that's why when I did the London Piano Masters, I decided to have, I could have done a master class with just me teaching for a week, No, I had, so every day the students would work with a different teacher and would learn how the same piece would be played if we were doing a German school. I had a German friend, Japanese, English, a different school. And so LPMAM, when I was born at the London Performing Academy of Music, I had a very similar idea to have the home of the schools, the music schools of the world, united under one big institution, to give the opportunity and the faith, to the students to discover the beauty directly from someone coming from these places.
This is what Christian and I also spoke about, is the cultural background and all the different things, and that makes an impact on the artists as well. And I find this so amazing that you're talking about the competitions that you went not necessarily to win, but you went for to show what you can do. And I wonder sometimes if that's not the most important thing that young musicians have to understand, that they maybe think the competition will, I have to win or I have to get a place just so that I can get a career out of it, or that it helps me in my career, but that there's so much more than just winning a competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was told by my teacher that I would never win a competition, and he was very right. I never won a competition. I was selected to go all the way, in all of the biggest competition in the world, but I didn't win them. But he did say I would have success anyway. And I would have not won a competition, because normally in a competition, you need, if you have, I've always been told I'm too original. The way I play, I don't feel like I'm original, I'm just doing what I think is written. But somehow what I find in the music is something that people think is original. And when you are too original in a competition, you can't make the whole jury to agree. So what normally wins, apart from being technically perfect, is also someone that doesn't make people to fight and say, no, either. Because when you have an original vision of something, then someone might disagree. And not saying, that the winner of competition won't be great pianist. But normally, yes, you refrain yourself. So I was told in competition to try to refrain myself not to, so that I would make everyone agree and let me go through.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay.
It doesn't matter. So what I did, I also have, we talk about business skills. Yes, I do have business skills. I was very lucky. My mom is an accountant. So since I was little, I knew how, I started doing concert and competition. I knew how to keep the receipt, to make the accountancy,
Yeah.
So I knew that. And then also I finished the music conservatoire very early. I entered very early. I entered at 7 years old. Normally, you have to be 14. It's a secondary school. The older way now is even university, so you can't really join before you're 18. So I was 7 and I finished at 17. So I finished very early, and then I was able to tour and do concerts. And so I did the university, and I did a degree in law. And my dad was a policeman, a police detective. And I also had that mind, apart from being fair, but also a strong mind, in what's good, what's legal, what's not legal, a legal frame of mind. And so when I did law, I really liked it. I thought it was, everyone should do it. And I did my specialization was on the right of musicians in the theater. So classical music. So everything to do with copyrights, with contracts, with orchestra, with the management team, the agency, and everything. And so I was able to help a lot of friends, giving advice when they were having recording.
Wow, that's handy.
Pirates agents, making to sign with your blood or these type of things. And so telling them you can also do it and then bring them to court when they ask for it. So I had to keep that quiet.
Yeah, but you are amazing.
Job, so yeah.
You're amazing. I mean, everything, your whole outlook, I just absolutely love it. And that you thought about this, that you thought of doing it this way, and how it benefits you now, and how it must be also an advantage for you with the London Performing Academy of Music. Yeah, I have to get that right. I have to get that right. This is.
No, it's okay. I like it. Like, help me, Mom. Think about Mama help me.
I did.
So I did.
Yeah, I did saw the MAM at the back, and I thought I have to remember the mum. Yeah,
guys. I have to say a massive thank you to LPMAM Student Ensemble, who absolutely smashed that. And I've got to say, we have to big them up even more, because this group has come all the way from Ukraine, and we are so appreciative.
But you know what I love about the name is the performing part of it, because I think this has always been my opinion, is that as a non-musician, I understand how very important technique is, and I understand how very important it is really to study the music. But I think at the end of the day, when it's in the theater, it's about the performance, and it's the performance that really, touches the audience.
Absolutely. Well, the idea was to have a music conservatoire that would have professors that are active performers, and that they can teach the students how to perform. Unfortunately, at university, and also in the conservatoires, there is a majority of teachers that they abandon the career, or they never made the career. They're more academics, because you have to teach every week. And when you're performing, that's not possible. You're touring the world, if you're doing an opera, for example, then you are in the theater for a month doing, I don't know, Turandot or Madama Butterfly. So you won't have the time to follow students every single week. And so I wanted, but what I believed on my own experience is that when you have professors that are out there, and they're they are on stage and dealing with what is needed today, not what was written 50 years ago, then you will be able to enter the music industry, more prepared and more able than to to the right agent to do the right way of doing things, because our performing industry is really evolving so quickly. I also have a record label, and I'm a director. I sit in the board of directors of the British phonographic industry here in the UK for the Brits Awards. I'm an independent label, and I have artists in my label. So you have, I had these from 2007, and that was the beginning of early beginning of Spotify. I think it started that year or so. And YouTube, I remember, I was one of the very first one to put videos on YouTube of me performing, and YouTube was featuring as a featured artist, because there was no, the record label didn't yet get into that. And I remember the conversation at the table was already admitted into the classical label committee. So I was sitting next to Warner, Sony, Universal, and talking about how to deal with YouTube or Spotify and the streaming side of it. And I remember someone saying, how about we just boycott YouTube and Spotify and we don't give them our music? So that's why they were slow into getting into Spotify or YouTube. And I was telling them, as an independent artist and an independent label, that's the biggest tool I have to reach to a wider audience all around the world. I have fans, I have hundreds of thousands of hundreds of thousands, of listening that I would have never achieved if I was just performing 1,000 concerts around the world. So really, on the perspective of the performer, the streaming is an incredible tool to allow you to then get an audience when you then go to Thailand, to Canada. I have huge followers in countries I've never been, and that's fantastic. So they are waiting for me to go there. So then that will go with an agent or a tour operator that is organizing my tournée. And so these type of things cannot be taught by someone that is not searching still for these things or had experience with these. And technology keeps improving. Now we have AI. There is huge conversation about AI, and only, I believe, people that are part of the industry. So, at the table, there is no musicians. I'm the only musician sitting at that table. I mean, they now have a fantastic chair, BPI. She's called Yolanda Brown. She's a jazz musician. So she's the one as well. So we are the two people bringing in the reality of the performers and how the recording industry is serving the performer. And I don't know, what you know, but here in the UK, and the UK somehow they are the forepart for American industry, and then Europe, and then the rest of the world, because they are sort of a connection, between Europe and America. So the conversation is really, really important. And I would like, that's why I founded LPMAM, with business courses that might prepare one day other performers like me to be able to sit at those tables. And if there is more people like me sitting at that table, then we can really push the classical music towards its 21st century. That's my biggest ambition, really, and my goal, my vision for LPMAM.
I've done some interviews with young musicians who tell me exactly this. They go to the music university or the conservatoire, and then when they get out, it's sort of, it's how do you, where do you go? How do you get invited back? And I know I've spoken to a pianist who really for 2 years she was numb, for just the overload of where now. And how amazing that you, like exactly what you're saying, that, that you have people in the industry, and that's part of the whole getting somewhere where you can find and have a voice and will be able to express yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, the music industry, like any show business industry, really, in all the sector, film, fashion, it's someone says it's a jungle. So it's really tough. The competition is just unbelievable. But I do believe, and I remember, I came out of Royal Academy of Music. Now, I was lucky enough that I already had a full degree. I'm a doctor in law, so I had that type of knowledge. But I've seen my friends, struggling. And that's exactly why I didn't want to, super talented musicians that if they're lucky, they ended up teaching in schools. Now, the numbers of people that they wish they could do study at Royal Academy of Music or Royal College of Music, there is 12 conservatories, 11. I'm the 12th. 12 with me. But, conservatories in all the UK, they have 10 of thousands of prospective students that apply. They do the audition, and then only a 10% get in because they all have a close number. So you have a 10% coming in, and then of this 10%, less than 1% will come out and maybe have a good career. The rest is lost. And it's because you put so much dedication, so much passion. And also, I remember very well, I was a Royal Academy of Music. And, I just graduated from law and I finished my academy in Italy. And I was told, there's nothing more I can teach you, just go and make an international career. So I was there to make a career. And I did an exam and I got merit instead of distinction. So that's how they give grades. So I didn't get the top grade. I was very upset. So I wrote a big letter to the head of department, Christopher Elton, and I told him, look, tell me clear if you think I am mediocre and not top of the top, I just give up. I go back to Italy. I already have a career if I want to become, a lawyer or to go into the, administration. I could become an artistic director, whatever, being the administration of a theater, many things, politics. I could have done so many things. And, I don't need to lose my time, the money of my parents to support me while I'm studying in the UK, because the UK are impossibly expensive. For being in the middle. I want to be top of the top. I'm giving my best. So if you think I'm not good enough, I'll go. And so I had the conversation. So the head of the department invited me to his office. And he told me, Stefania, there are students here that they don't have the fifth finger of your talent, So with talent, you have big responsibility. So you can't just throw it out because you were not happy with the criticism. So be strong. Remember that you have a huge talent and you have the responsibility to bring this talent out. And so I did. And it happened to me again. I don't know if you already know about, me having the opportunity to save students from Ukraine. I was just being elected at the board of director of the BPI, and I was supposed to be in Ukraine. I signed a partnership with the Kiev Conservatoire in October 2021, and I was going back. I signed partnership with Kharkiv University in January. We did the big master class online, and I was supposed to go back on the 22nd of February 2022. To Kiev. We would have done a week where I would have been teaching. Again, you were asking me about teaching. Yes, so I teach in this type of event. We do the collaboration. So we should have done a week of masterclass. I would have performed in concerts, and then I would have gone to Moscow and then to St. Petersburg and signed partnership with them as well. And I was very excited because I'm a big passionate. I'm really passionate about Russian literature, Russian music, Russian culture, Bulgakov and Tolstoy and Dostoevsky and Rachmaninoff, Tchaikovsky, you know, it's just, you know, and I had many Russian friends as well. And they say somehow we're very similar. We're very somehow blooded. That's what they said,
Really?
with the hot blood.
Okay.
And I like that. I was really looking forward to go to Russia when the war started in Ukraine. No one could believe it. The Ukrainian, they thought it was just, you know, propaganda, because they've been in these terms with Russia for so many years. So they were really not expecting it, neither in Moscow or in St. Petersburg. So they were really. So I was sitting at the council of the BPI, and we had to decide the sanction. You know, the UK gave sanction in the various industries to the Russians. The Russian people in the UK or trading, you know, with Russia. And so the same would go with music. So with the artist signed on the record label, the CDs distributed in Russia, and of course, you know, touring, etc. And so I said, you know, I have Russian artists on my record label, not just Rustem Saikbalov, also Anna Kubenko. And I also have Ukrainians and students, professors, friends. So what shall we do? And so they told me, well, if you want to help them, we're going to help you. So they asked me to write a blog that was shared by the music industry in all the different areas. And I told the students, you know, who wants to come to the UK, I can help you and you can come over. And it was overwhelming. I didn't, you know, I didn't think about what would happen afterwards. I just thought, you know, I need to save them. I had the professors that they were teaching the kids online crying, calling me, saying, Stefan, they're under the bombing. They want to have lessons anyway. And so I did what I could. That was a matter of death or life. And I discovered that because I signed the partnership from before the war in October 21, there was a law in Ukraine that allowed the students to be transferred to the UK and not go and fight at the front. So I was able to save the boys as well, not just the girls, but also the boys, find houses. And it was incredibly demanding psychologically. You know, I was with them for hours on Zoom under the bombing, trying to do here my law degree came in again, you know, allowing me to help them to fill in the application for the visa for them, for the host in the UK, matching them. I remember once we were having a Zoom meeting with one of the students, and I was introducing him to the family that would host it in the UK, because they needed also to like each other. I wasn't just taking whoever. I'd be sure they would be okay. And it was getting dark and we couldn't see him anymore. And I said, could you please switch on the light? Because it's too dark, we don't see you. And he said, there is the curfew. So if I switch on the light, I risk that the Russians are going to hit my apartment. And so I said, okay, then switch it on. But I didn't think about that. We were just talking about allergies and if it was okay to live with the dog in the UK. He didn't. These type of things, or someone else, calling me at 11 in the evening that they tried to cross the border and they were stopped by the border officials because they were saying that the documents were fake. And so they wanted to talk with me and say that it was true that they were students of LPMAM and they were coming to study in London and that I was the president making them to come. So it was like everyday messages, calls. One of these Zoom for the visa, I was making them to share the screen of their phone and telling them, put this here, put that there. It took us 4 hours. We were connected with someone else in Ukraine who could speak better English to translate in Ukraine. It was just so I ended up in the hospital twice with pain in my chest because of the stress, not finding scholarship for them because I had them. And then I needed to find also the scholarship for them to study because the professors were not studying for teaching for free. And but again, I was asked, someone asked me, would you've done it again? And I would. There is nothing you can do about it because as we going back to, when you have the opportunity, you have the responsibility. Absolutely. I had the talent, I had the responsibility. You have the opportunity, you also have the responsibility. If I said no and just watched it on television, I don't think I would have lived with myself.
I love your name, by the way. We know you've gone to an incredible length to bring all these amazing young musicians from Ukraine. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means for you today to all be here at the Royal Albert Hall?
But first of all, this is an incredible dream for for any young musician to be here performing on this stage for this incredible audience, for the proms that is, the father and mother of classical music, not just in the UK, but actually for the whole world.
The students actually that's the thing, that it's you are able to think about things like that, that you are able to like you said before, you can see the bigger picture. So you could see that you could bring them and that there could be something for them and you could provide something for them. That's amazing. So they are still there, they're still studying with you?
Yeah. Some of them graduated and they managed to go on to other conservatoires. So I got some that managed to go on to Royal Academy of Music, to do the master, etc. Or Guildhall. And some others are still studying with us. We have another 3 graduating this year. The first one graduating was in October, the day of my birthday. I didn't want to do it on my birthday, but we didn't have any other day and where everyone was available. So it was a big birthday. And it was our very first graduation as well. So it was great.
Amazing. So now your professors that teaching, because I went through the website and you've got amazing people there and amazing teachers and a wide variety of people. So how does it work for the students? I mean, do you have a studio or how do they get to come and do the classes?
So LPMAM was launched online. So we have a platform and that allow us to perform with near zero latency and in stereo audio. So you're able to hear the dynamics and you're able to hear the higher sounds and the lower notes. We tested with the trombone or the horn. They were so pleased, or the trumpet as well. With these big instruments and then the voice. So you're able to hear the sound as if you were in the same room.
Wow.
It also has a technology where you can do the master class, so you can have up to 10 people connected at the same time, performing together, providing that the internet connection is stable. But we did a masterclass with India. We had the students from India, and she was a singer, and I was playing the piano for her, and we were together, and the teacher was with me, and he was able to hear us at the same time. So it was great. It was like being in the room. So that's how we did this partnership with all these conservatories. When we launched it, it was during the pandemic, and we were able to partner with international conservatories all around the world, all excited about this opportunity of doing exchange and master classes, hybrid, online and physical. Now, since when I saved the students from Ukraine, they were studying with us online since October 21. When they came to the UK, then they wanted to have classes in person. So we were very fortunate to a partnership with Conway Hall. And that's why we did our opera studio as well. And then we have another location that is an academy, multi-academy space in Camden Town. And that's fantastic because we're mixed with students from drama and from dance and ballet. So I really, because it allows us, to mix with different type of performing and hopefully do collaboration and with the.
I think that's amazing because it's also opening up the mind to other possibilities, and sort of for the students to think of different possibilities where different forms of art can collaborate. Because I mean, opera itself is a multifaceted form of art, isn't it? So so it's great that that you have that there.
Well, in particular, I told you we launched it online. We still have the online element available. And what is very important of the online platform, apart that, you see, it allowed us to go over the limitation of the pandemic and then the horror of the war, allowing us to be connected with the students in Ukraine. There's also very much trying to reach out to disadvantaged students that they wouldn't otherwise be able to afford to come to study in London. As I told you, I was very lucky. I was invited by Royal Academy to study when we were still in the European Union, and I didn't need to pay international fees, and I also received a scholarship. So I was able to do that. But now, even if you were receiving a full scholarship to study for free in a UK university, you still need to have, and you're not in the European Union, and you're not UK, so basically the rest of the world now, you have to apply for a student visa. And the student visa, you need to have, I think, around £11,000 cash in the bank to demonstrate that when you come to the UK, you're coming to study and not to work. So we had students that, for example, they only had £5,000 cash in their bank account, and they were not able, even if they had the full scholarship or they found someone to help them to study, to pay for the fees to study in the UK, they were not able to get the visa to then come and study here.
See.
So
11,000 is a lot of money to, just for a student to have in the bank.
Well, you can have it with your parents, but still, if you have normal parents that they're just a working family, they won't have 11 in the bank account. They will have the income coming in and out for paying the rent, for paying the food. So it's really, so that's why I thought, this platform was allowing us to reach out to everyone. So you can have a full degree, undergraduate or postgraduate, online with us. So we're the first one in the world to do that for instruments. And then what we plan to do is to have a week like we did for the opera or for the orchestra or for the jazz ensemble, where then you come to London, but you're in London for just a week or a month if you like. We can develop it more, like once per month, once per term maybe, and they do the concerts. They can choose to do the exam physically in London, so they get the experience of the London life and the London, interaction with the other students without the cost of relocating to London for a full 3 years or 4 years, for the degree.
Well, I'm just thinking of South Africa now, of South Africans. For them, how beneficial could this be? Because, I mean, for them, just the exchange rate is, I think, 20 rand to the pound or something like that. And for them, it would be impossible to come to, well, it would be very expensive to come to London, yet they could have this now online for and still benefit from the program. That's amazing. I mean, I'm talking about South Africa, but I can just think of many places in the world, where it would be for people just not possible to come to London. And you're giving this opportunity. Yeah, I think it's genius.
And also studying online, they don't need to pay the international fees, so they can pay the UK fees. So that's as well a huge difference, because if they were coming to London, they would have to spend £23,000 per year. That's how much it costs. It's not as much as if you were studying in the US. That's incredibly expensive. But still, I think for a normal person, as I told you, my dad was a policeman and my mom is an accountant. They would have never been able to afford for me to study here, and I would have done something different probably. But
but
you see what I mean? I would never created these. So,
but London is a very expensive city as well. I mean, you just if I just think of the travel expense and the rent, it's really it's not easy, I think, for a student to be there.
Yeah.
Well, I love this. Academy of yours. And now that I know more about the story behind it, I think I really think you're a genius. To be able to think of all these things and not, like you said, not to just think of yourself, but look how many wonderful people you bring together. Not just your faculty, but also the students.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you a funny story. So I've just been at Royal Ascot. A Royal Ascot is a race event in the UK that happens once per year. And it's an incredible social event where you get to see the royal family up close. And I was invited by a person, a new connection, a new friend who works for United Nations for the Sustainable Development Goals, to spread the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations in music and with music events. So we're talking about doing some events together with the sponsorship of the United Nations, with everything that we've been talking about. And so I invited someone else from the cultural envoy of the Mongolian government. So it's a person that I met through our media partner that made the filming of the opera. And so he introduced me to this lady. She organizes events with cultural events, and they did a wonderful show in November called the Mongol Khan. And the Mongol Khan was a huge production, a theater production, where the costumes were designed by the historical studies of the costume find by the archaeologists, etc. So very, very precise with our job is to spread this beautiful history that the Mongolian culture has. And so Christian was coming from your interview when I met her about the very first time. And we were supposed to have a coffee and catch up. And I told Christian, come over straight away. I have to introduce you to this lady. So this lady, we were talking about doing a Turandot. I'm supposed to go to China to conclude a partnership with Chinese university and Chinese conservatories. And because it's 100 years of Puccini, we started with La Bohème, where I got to collaborate for the very first time with Christian. And Christian got to meet Silvio Zanon and Chiara Angela, our two professors, opera stars, and the stage director of the opera. And I told him, come over because I have to introduce you to this lady. So I told her we were going to do the Turandot with Christine Cimei, Chiara Angeli, and Silvio Zanon. And we wanted to do, something about culture, etc. And so she told me that Turandot was a Mongolian princess. So it's a fairy tale. But in the fairy tale, Turandot is a Mongolian princess.
Oh, okay.
And she told me that in Mongolia, they have a huge culture for opera. So they have a very special vocal technique that they use. Chiara and Silvio told me they know this technique because they had master classes in Uzbekistan and nearby. So they got to meet and discover that. And she says,
by the way, I'm talking to them as well. I'm going
fantastic.
to do
So they will tell you.
Yeah, so we can talk about this as well. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I told, so the lady told me that they translate all the operas in Mongolian. So I said to her, well, we have to do the Turandot. Why don't we do a collaboration with the Mongolian Conservatory and University? And then we do a production where Turandot sings in Mongolian because she's a Mongolian princess. So we're going to do December. If you're in London or come to London and see us, we're going to be at Conway Hall and we're going to do this opera. It's going to be 5th and 6th. Wow. So the 5th is going to be the Italian because it's Puccini, end of this 100 years celebration, and also incredible, it's his last opera. So we end up with this. And the second night, we're going to have the choir and maybe Turandot. We have to decide the details, but there will be some elements sung in Mongolian.
Oh, that's
and
amazing.
So that just to this fact that LPMAM wants to be the home of the classical music of the world, not just traditional classical music. So I bring her with me. With the Japanese representative of the United Nations for the SDG to the Royal Ascot. And I make them to meet, and they wanted me to bet on a horse. So when we arrived, the very first race was won by a horse called the Opera Singer.
Really?
And yes. And I said, we should have bet on this horse. So that would have been, just the perfect conclusion. And so they do their own bet. Mongolia has a big tradition on horses as well. The Japanese Makoto is called, was very much, he liked to go and visit different events with horse racing and horses. So there was this connection, but I didn't bet because I don't normally bet. I bet on myself and on my capabilities. Anyway, by the end,
I will easily bet on you because you just.
So at the end of the we wanted to leave before the last race to be able, to go back. We had another meeting afterwards, and at the last, so the before last race, they tell me that there is a horse called Soprano.
Okay.
So I said, okay. Then I didn't bet all day, but we have a horse called Soprano. We have to bet. Yeah. So I had £10 cash. I said, let's all put £10 cash together and let's see what happens. And for Soprano, that wins. The lady from the Mongolian Cultural Convoy didn't have the heart to bet on Soprano winning. So she just put the bet for Soprano placed. So arriving 1, 2, or 3. At the end of it, Soprano won.
Of course. Why not?
I couldn't believe it. And I was like, if this was a movie, you would have not believed. You would say, the writer have exaggerated because you can't just go to your first race and just bet on one thing called Soprano. And we're all connected for the opera that we want to produce together of Turandot, and the Soprano horse win.
There's your sign.
So, yeah.
There's your sign. I
Very
love
funny.
it.
So that was the last thing. But what I told them, you see, we won also because we bet together. If I was betting by myself, we put it together, and I strongly believe that together we will do so much better.
Yeah,
I would have never done everything I did by myself, you know.
Yeah.
So I believe in all of us.
This is absolutely a sign. I think it's it's the universe telling you go ahead.
Yes, so please come to London, 5th and 6th of December, and come and experience the very first time in the world. We see
amazing. So so this will be the first time it's sang in Mongolian then.
In the UK, yes. I mean, outside Mongolia. So Mongolia, they sing it all in English. Yeah, that is impressive. But you would have to go to Mongolia, and also you have to know that this happened in Mongolia. So we're actually planning to go to Mongolia, select the students. We'll see. It's gonna, it might grow into a bigger production, but.
Yeah, I'm with you. So, but I wanted to ask you now about your wishes, but tell me, so apart from going to Mongolia, what are the wishes for you?
Oh, well, the wishes at the moment. So, we're looking at having our own big campus. Because as I told you, we launched the design. We are based at Conway Hall. We are in this multi-academy space. That would be lovely one day to have a beautiful building where we can outside LPMAM. That's the biggest wish.
Oh, okay.
So
and you still carry on doing the online work.
Also, yes, we do it all,
But Stefania, you're doing amazing work, really. But your energy is so wonderful. I think this is why you attract these wonderful people and do these wonderful things, because it's also of your outlook, of doing things together and getting all these wonderful creatives together.
Thank you. Well, I don't know. That's how it is. I can't be any different. But I wish, I think if we were all thinking this way, and I believe somehow my mission is to create a new generation of musicians, people, that will be working in the music industry, that hopefully will be thinking like me. And if we're all together and we're all gonna thrive. That's the truth. Since I was little, people told me you're, but I don't see why not. Why can't we do that?
And I think it's, I speak to young musicians very often, and you always find that they want to be themselves, they want to be, or express themselves in their way. And it's sort of so needed that they have this freedom, that they don't always have the pressure or thinking. I think maybe it's like a dancer said to me, the pressure you put on yourself, it's not always from the outside, but maybe if there's somebody to give them the opportunity to be the artist that they're supposed to be, because I think it's that is when you really truly do amazing work, is when you are the artist who you're supposed to be.
Yeah, totally. I remember, I have a daughter. She just turned 10. And when I had my daughter, it was very difficult because we don't have family here. My husband is American. So it was just me and my husband. And no one prepares you enough, when you have a child, on the commitment. And it's beautiful, but it's also very, very difficult. And when you're performing, I was touring, I was doing Rachmaninoff's second piano concerto. So So it wasn't that simple, having put in the hours, also the sleep that you need to then being fresh and concentrating and performing such demanding pieces. And I had a neighbor at the time. I was living in London, and Annie, she just won an Emmy at the time for costume design for, I don't remember which TV series, by big TV series. It was a TV series, I think, about Leonardo da Vinci. So she won the Emmy, and she was in the corridor with this Emmy, and we were talking about this Emmy. And she told me, Stefania, remember one thing. So she had 3 kids, and she was separated. So she wasn't living with the husband. So she was, if you like, a single mom. Remember one thing. When you're an artist, you need to remember to find the time to continue to be an artist. Because if you give up for doing something else, you're never going to be the best version that you can be of yourself. And that included being a mom and not feeling guilty if I had to spend hours at the piano or if I had to go away touring for concerts. Because then I would come home and be a very happy mom. Otherwise, I would be a sad mom that can't.
No,
that's the best advice I have received.
And children are resilient, and they adapt. They accept, and it's true. If you're happy, then they're happy as well. So no, that's absolutely true. I always think it's if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you are like somebody with a lost limb. You can manage and you can carry on, but there's always that hole, that you feel, or there's always that the thing that you think it's not there. So I think you have to be a whole person and do your thing and do your express yourself and do your art.
Yeah. Yes.
Definitely. But Stefania, it was so great talking to you, and I hope to meet you one day in person. I hope you come to Vienna.
I want to.
Yeah.
I've been to Vienna once. If I tell you this story, we need another hour. I was coming back from my very first time in Kiev. I was performing for the Horowitz competition, and we had the volcano ashes that covered all Europe. Do you remember? And all flights were cancelled because you couldn't see anything in Europe. It was incredible. And the only place you could fly to was Vienna. So I managed to get a flight to Vienna. And I remember there was this huge dark cloud all over. And then you had like a hole. That was Vienna. And so all the flights from all around the world were all going down to Vienna.
Really?
And it was total madness because there was no car, no bus, everything was taken because everyone was trying to then reach their final destination in Europe. And I remember I was queuing with a guy, an astrophysic from the spatial aeronautical station on the Alps. So this guy was from Vienna, and the nicest guy in the world who then gave me a quick tour of Vienna while I was then waiting for my train to go to. I had to go to London, and my parents got me a train to go from Vienna to Venice overnight. And then from Venice, my dad drove me with the car without stopping for a coffee all the way to Lyon. And Lyon, I got a train to Paris. And lucky I studied in Paris, so I knew how to go from Gare du Nord, Gare de Lyon to Gare du Nord, and run and catch Eurostar to London. And this Viennese guy, he told me, only Italian parents would do something like that. But he was so nice. I had the best time ever. So I want to come back without the hurry of doing
Yeah. Well, at least you had a good experience here. Yeah,
absolutely.
But I'll definitely. I'm positive I'll meet you in person here in Vienna soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for inviting me. Congratulations on this podcast. It's really nice.
It's a great pleasure.
A massive thank you to LPMAM Student Ensemble, who absolutely smashed that. And I've got to say, we have to big them up even more, because this group has come all the way from Ukraine, and we are so appreciative.